People had to walk on eggshells around me because anything could trigger me. Anything could feel too much for me. If you don't learn to regulate yourself before your next up level, you're gonna sabotage your own success and happiness. Look, every time I was about to realize myself a dream, my entire nervous system freaked out simply because I had never done it before. And there was no proof yet for whether or not it's gonna work out. I first had to gain it, but my mind didn't care. My mind didn't care about me like telling it, hey, look, we are right, like we can do it, because my body hadn't understood it yet. My body didn't feel safe. And it was only a couple of years ago when I actually started working with my body, my nervous system, to actually regulate myself before I would go onto the next level. I don't know how I actually ever did it without doing so all the times before, because life has been different since. And in this video, I want to share with you how I do it. It's actually quite simple and easy when you stop being a control freak and allow yourself to surrender for life to flow. You are not yourself when your nervous system doesn't feel safe, when it's dysregulated, when you're run by fears instead of truth. Every single time I did something big in my life, my nervous system freaked out. And it's normal, and it always will be to some extent. But I learned to hold myself in it, and I learned to build the capacity to receive what life wants to give me while already on the path. So I no longer wait for me to feel better about myself and for things to feel more smooth and safe. No, I walk the path regardless. However, the difference between navigating through this, basically for my entire life up until 2-3 years ago, was that I did not know how to hold myself in it all and actually build the capacity for the new while already on the path. All those years before, I would experience breakdowns. I would feel so sensitive, so unstable, so overwhelmed, and I had no idea how to change that. When I first moved to Australia in 2011, I was only 19 years young. I thought, I'm doing all right. Like, I'm managing everything that needs to be done. I was preparing, I was functioning, I was working. I was so on the external, doing, but never really focused on what was going on within. Yet, felt super irritated and overwhelmed a couple of weeks prior to my move that I was not myself at all anymore. Somehow I managed to go anyway because the dream to go was bigger than fear. Same was when I decided to move to Australia to actually live and work there in 2018. The difference back then was that I had already made this experience. I had already been in Australia for a couple of times before. So it was nothing new. I already kind of knew what to expect. I had friends, I had a boyfriend there at the time who was awaiting me. So it felt less scary. However, I still had not learned how to regulate my body, myself, for that next up level, which resulted in unnecessary arguments with my boyfriend at the time, in me being super frustrated and really sensitive once again. Like, whatever someone did or said, like, I was so easily offended. I was literally not myself at all. People had to walk on eggshells around me because anything could trigger me. Anything could feel too much for me because I was so focused on making everything work on the outside, but wasn't connecting to myself on the inside at all. When I moved from Sydney to Melbourne last year, something had changed though. Not only had I done the inner work for me to know how to actually sit with my emotions, master myself, and deal with whatever comes up for me in new, tricky, weird, uncomfortable situations, but I had also learned how to actually regulate myself, my nervous system. And I'm so glad I did, because otherwise I would have completely freaked out. Because the situation I found myself in, I already talked about this in one of my recent videos. I'm gonna link it up here so you can check it out, was not fun at all. It was actually so messy. It was so bad and made me feel like, what the am I doing? I was terrified to leave Germany. I'd actually been in Germany in between moves for 2 weeks for a visit because I had no place to go in Melbourne. And I was like about 5 days away from moving. What I did to not have it affect my relationships with my friends and family and make me feel like I was losing my sanity once again was to actually sit with what came up for me. Sit with the fear. Sit with the feelings that I noticed arising in my body. And I'm going to show you in this video how to actually do that so you can do it for yourself, even in the midst of complete craziness. You can do it anytime, anywhere, with where you're at and who you are in that very moment. I'm actually doing this one with my clients all the time. It is so powerful because it brings you back in the present moment straight away and allows you to reconnect with your true self. So it basically helps you to step back from not self to self. What you do is that you find a quiet moment and you sit down or you lay down, whatever feels better for you. And you close your eyes, and I'm going to do that right now as well because it helps me to connect even more and to really tune into this, right? So you close your eyes and then you place one hand on your heart and one on your sacral chakra, your lower stomach area, right? And you just sit there or you lay. You just take a couple of breaths through the nose, deep into your stomach and out of your mouth. So that you can fully arrive in the present moment, which allows you to realize that there's nothing to actually be scared of right now because you're safe. It also allows you to calm down, to relax, and feel much more at ease and peace again, which is exactly the kind of state we want you to be in to create the life of your dreams. And what I do then is to just ask myself, okay, what am I feeling right now? And where in my body am I feeling it? And then I locate it. And most of the time it's in my solar plexus or my throat or the heart, which is interesting because the throat, for example, is all about speaking your truth, right? The heart is about connections, relationships. The stomach area is a lot about like ego, identity, self-perception, like all that kind of stuff. So it makes a lot of sense, like wherever you find the feeling to be present the most, usually already gives you a lot of information that you can then use to shift and change whatever is going on for you. Once I've located what's going on for me, I just sit with the feeling again and I just let it be there. And then I ask myself, okay, is this something I actually can work with and should work on? Or does it not really matter? As in, is there some information in there for me that I need to understand and know in order to keep moving? Or will it not go regardless of whether or not I work with it? And honestly, chances are always 50-50. Sometimes I do have to look at it, and when I do, then I do a little deep dive to actually get to the root of all evil and see what is actually going on. This is, by the way, also what I do in hypnosis sessions, where I lead the client to the root of the symptom they come in with, because it's never the fear or the thing you think it is. In 99% of the time, something much deeper. Most of the time, even something you would have never thought could be the reason for you feeling the way you do. But once you understand what it is, by reconnecting with your body, with your nervous system, you then are able to shift and change it, because it's our emotions, it's our subconscious that holds power over us. No matter how conscious you are, no matter like how far you are on your personal development journey, if your subconscious is not on board, if your body does not feel safe in whatever it is you want to do, then you won't be able to do it, and or you will sabotage it in the long run, because you will find ways and reasons to not do the thing. This will happen unconsciously. To keep it easy, simple, and digestible in this video, I am gonna share like what I do when it is not important for me to actually go deep to the root of the emotion, but I'm actually only required to reconnect with myself, hold myself, regulate myself. When that is the case, I literally just sit there. I just sit there and I'm like, okay, so I don't have to go to the root of all this. What is it you want to tell me? And then it usually speaks quite quickly and is like, hey, like it's usually fear, right? Fear, for example, in the stomach area, which is like trying to hold me back from doing the thing, and it just wants me to be safe. That's all. So I let it speak and I let it be there, and I continue holding myself, usually putting my hands on the area of my body where I feel the feeling the most, and then I start soothing myself with positive self-talk. I let myself know, hey, look, there's nothing to actually be worried about, to fear. I get that you do. I get that it's coming up, and I'm here and I'm holding this. Wherever this is coming from, if this is coming from childhood or my teenage years, or whenever in my life this feeling occurred first, I'm not that version of myself anymore. I'm not unsafe anymore. I actually am safe today and I can hold it. And then I do exactly that. I just hold it until I feel much calmer, much more at peace again, much more myself again. And at some point, I notice how I can open my eyes back up again and continue my day. And usually this process no longer takes more than 5 to maximum 20 minutes these days, because I've done it so many times before that my system knows it can trust me, knows that I can hold myself, knows that I'll figure it out, knows that like there's nothing to worry about. And every time it comes up again, because it usually does, I remind myself, hey, it's okay, I'm safe, I've got this. Let me figure this out. Let me do this. Like, I'm here, I'm holding this. It's okay. Let's keep going. So I do. That is exactly what I did in this messy situation in between moves last year, which helped me to not only do it with so much more ease and peace, but actually with a regulated system. So I did not have to start random arguments with my loved ones and be like the worst version of myself, but could continue just being me. And yes, I would have cries, I would have breakdowns, but these breakdowns were controlled. These breakdowns were me intentionally sitting down and letting it all out, letting out the emotion that was coming up, letting out everything that I was feeling, because I knew it had to in order to make space for what was to come. Once you learn to no longer be afraid of yourself, aka your emotions, you become very, very powerful, because you learn that there's nothing actually to be afraid of other than not feeling it. Because not feeling it suppresses, right? And what is suppressed is never truly gone, but will at some point pop back up again. Usually in situations where it's not wanted at all. And then you don't even know what it's all about anymore. Like it happened for me so many times in my life before, where I would then like start random fights and like be super highly sensitive, weird and overwhelmed and just not a nice human being because I wasn't regulated. This, however, is an exercise you can literally do anytime, anywhere, and it's very, very powerful, very helpful. However, if you feel like you actually need help, professional help, please go seek it, because this is definitely for the more advanced people who actually feel safe within themselves to hold themselves in whatever comes up for them. Okay, if you don't do that yet, please go seek professional help, because emotions can feel extremely heavy and can be a lot, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to do damage to yourself that will only make things worse. I hope this video helped you. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here today. See you in the next one. The Queen of Dreams.